الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فأوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى. صلوات. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, first of all, I advise myself for taqwa, parhezgari and piety. And then I advise all of you for the same. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase us in our knowledge, in our understanding of our faith, our values, and the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Messenger, and the Ahlul Bayt of our beloved Messenger. As I had promised last Friday, that on this Friday I will begin a new theme of discussion. Since we have entered in the month of Rabiul Awwal, and Rabiul Awwal is actually month of Prophet, in the sense that Prophet was born in this particular month, so that Muslims always the memory of the Prophet, to celebrate the legacy of Prophet and review the teachings of Prophet and his seerah. I will make a comment later on in a different event. Today I don't have that much time, but basically every Muslim, they have duty and responsibility to love their Prophet and to respect their Prophet and honor their Prophet, and try to understand their Prophet and try to learn his teachings and his way of life and his message. This is a collective duty and responsibility on entire Muslim community, and I don't think that any Muslim has any problem with that, or any Muslim will deny that. Only little bit difference among the Muslims is that some Muslims, including us, who would like to celebrate the Wiladat of Prophet, Mawlidun Nabi or Miladun Nabi, and have a kind of some festivities, and to celebrate as a birthday of Prophet. And then, of course, we try to talk about his message and his life and his teachings as well, but mainly the focus remains on the celebration and on the festivities, at least in this particular occasion, which is the occasion of Wiladat of Prophet. While there is a group of Muslims who doesn't like to celebrate it as a celebration, or doesn't want to have any festivities on this particular occasion or any time in the year. They don't believe in celebrating the Mawlidun Nabi or Miladun Nabi or birthday of Prophet, or meaning birthday of anyone. They would like to hold some sessions and some programs under the name of Seeratun Nabi, the Seerah conference. Seerah meaning the lifestyle of the Prophet, or the teachings of Prophet, or the message of Prophet. And even if they would hold such programs in Rabiul Awwal, normally they avoid holding in Rabiul Awwal, but if they hold some of these programs in Rabiul Awwal or in other months, their focus will be on the teachings of Prophet and the message of Prophet and the legacy of Prophet, but they will not have any festivities and they will not give it the name of celebration of, for example, the birthday of Prophet. Alaykum salam. We, of course, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, alayhimus salatu wassalam, are here with those Muslims that who celebrate the Mawlidun Nabi and Miladun Nabi, and they have festivities, and we hold this event to express our thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given us such a blessing, such a ni'mat. This is the ni'mat-e-uzma. This is the greatest ni'mat which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had ever given to humanity, and that is sending the Prophet Muhammad in this world, and his birth and later his bi'sat are the best of the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which ever He gave to humanity. And that's why we celebrate it, and we have some festivities, and of course, meaning we talk about his seerah, and we talk about his message, and we talk about his legacy. So that is not the discussion for today, but still I ended up making some comments on that. But the point is, month of Rabiul Awwal has many important occasions other than the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. This is the month of Wiladat of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam as well. And that is also another great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to send a man like Ja'far as-Sadiq to inspire and to motivate and to educate and to lead the Ummah of Muhammad, and to further explain the details of the Quran and Hadith and Islamic law, and a great Imam with great legacy, and he was also born in this month of Rabiul Awwal. And there are other occasions also, inshallah sometime we will talk about, but I wanted to change now the theme. We have been talking about Karbala and Imam Hussain in the previous khutbahs during the month of Muharram and Safar. So in Rabiul Awwal I thought that we should now change the topic and have something else to discuss. And the topic which I had announced, I had said that I will inshallah take this verse from Surah Ali Imran, the verse number 104, وَلْتَقُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ النَّاسَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. So this ayat I wanted to start, and basically this ayat is about first of all being a community. It's about being a community, being an ummah. We normally in Urdu or Farsi we use the word ummat. This is the same word which is mentioned in Arabic as ummah. We make waqf on ta at the end, and when you make waqf on ta, it becomes ha. So then it becomes ummah. But it's the same word which we write or we pronounce in Urdu or in Farsi or in other languages as ummat. Meaning a community, a nation also, like you can expand and have different words for it to understand. But first of all, Quran, if you read Quran and look at different ayat, you will get this sense that Islam is a religion of ummah. It builds an ummah, it brings an ummah in being and in existence, and then it leads that ummah and deals with all those issues which an ummah can have. And whatever the requirements of an ummah are, whatever the necessities for an ummah are. So Quran talks about those needs of an ummah, the necessities for an ummah. Then also Quran talks about those issues and those problems which may emerge in any community. So Quran believes in prevention. So Quran always is ahead of the society, ahead of the people, and educates them to prevent themselves or their community from those issues and those problems. But then at the same time, Quran gives the solutions to those problems, that no matter what you do, you still end up with some issues, with some problems in a society, and Quran is about bringing the solutions to those problems in community. So if you read the Quran, while the most popular, the topic which has been discussed more than anything else, that is of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. Many people are under the impression that Quran is a human-centered book. Quran is all about human being, but Quran is not about all human being. Quran is all about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is God-centered book. God is the center of this book, and if you count how many times Allah is mentioned in Quran, you will find out that nothing else has been mentioned that many times. Not only by the name Allah, but then count his sifat, meaning those his name of like Rabb, like Qadir, like Basir, like Muhaymin, like for example Ghafoor, like Tawwab. If you count all those names and then the name of Allah, then Allah is mentioned in Quran more than anything else and anybody else. And the entire this Quran is focused on bringing people to Allah. First of all, educating them about Allah, who Allah is, the ma'rifat of Allah, the introduction of Allah, educating people to understand their God, to understand that this world is not by itself, it is a creation and it is created by a God. And then Quran talks about that, who is that God, and introduces that God in many ways, with so many examples and in so many different ways. So it's first of all people that they should know there is a God, then introducing the God, then telling people that they owe allegiance to Him, they must worship Him, they must obey Him, and they should remember His bounties and His blessings and His favors, and they should always do obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and avoid from disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is, meaning if you read Quran, if you are a reader of Quran on daily basis, so I'm not telling you anything new. This is what you come across almost in your daily reading. Every day you will find some ayat bringing you to these realities, that this creation, this kainat, this world, this dunya didn't come in existence by itself. It is a creation, it is created by a wise creator and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then introducing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and talking about His might, His power, His generosity, His forgiveness, His all those attributes, and reminding people that they are under His favors, they need Him and He doesn't need them. And they must obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for their own good, for their own benefit. And all that kind of teaching. So this is what Quran talks about mainly. And then of course, to expand this theme, he mentions the prophets. Those were sent by God. And again, mention of these prophets is that they were messengers of Allah. Again, they are not an independent entity. They are again messengers of Allah. And how He sent them, and what they were used to preach, and what they were used to do, and how people were used to obey them or disobey them, and how people were used to deal with them or act and react to the prophets, and what were the again core teachings of the prophet, and what was the legacy or this whole kind of life account of that prophet. So again, it is mentioned in that context. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't write any qasida for any Nabi, for example, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not there to highlight the prophets and their entire life. Allah always mentioned them as His servants. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always introduced them as His servants and serving His cause. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appreciated their services and asked people to look at them and learn from their teachings. But the mode, if you read the Quran, so you will see it is again, everything is Allahu. The Quran is all about Allah, and everything is all around that. Then of course, meaning whatever Allah wants from human being, of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put that in deen, and this deen is something that it can be practiced only in community life. If you don't have community, then it becomes very, very difficult to practice your deen. If you go and talk to those people who came in this country, for example, in 50s, and ask them that what was their experience here as Muslims in 50s, for example, they will tell you that meaning they had very difficult time. They couldn't find fellow Muslims around. They could not even find this halal meat, because there were very few Muslims in the entire country here and there. They couldn't find actually the masjid to go and pray. They couldn't find any alim to go and ask him mas'ala, or to learn Quran, for example, from that alim. They didn't have alims to conduct their marriages, nikah. They didn't have alims to do their salatul janaza, for example. They didn't have these cemeteries. They didn't have these ghusl khanas, mortuaries. They didn't have these Sunday schools. They didn't have these full-time schools. They didn't have these Muslim restaurants and grocery stores. They didn't have these masajid, imam bargahs, majalis, or these sort of things. These things started coming in existence in early 70s, and then they started kind of growing up more in the mid 70s, late 70s, 80s, 90s, and today, mashallah, we are blessed with all these things. So those people, most of them, first of all, many of them for themselves, they lost their religious kind of that zeal or religious spirit, except those Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved them and they came from very religious background, or Allah wanted to save them. But many of them, I met them in different places, and they said, meaning they totally kind of, some of them they converted, some of them they totally lost their faith, some of them they still say by name that we are Muslims, but there is nothing which you can see in them that in the life of Muslim. So everything was kind of, that they gave up. Majority of them, they were not able to save their children. Many of them, they married out of community, out of faith in 50s. When we are talking about those people that who came at that early when there was not Muslim community, people were living in small numbers and there was no community. There were not many Muslims around. So they ended up marrying these non-Muslim men and women. And finally, that if you are not that strong Muslim, if you are not educated Muslim, if you are not a practicing Muslim, and then you got married to someone who is not Muslim at all, and then what is going to happen in family? So they were not able to keep their next generation, they were not able to keep their children. So we don't blame them, but and we have sympathy toward them, but this is the experience. This is what has happened. With those people who came very early, and again, they were Muslims and they wanted to be a Muslim. They wanted to raise Muslim kids. They wanted to practice Islam, but what they were missing? They were missing the Muslim community. They were missing Muslim community, because you cannot practice this deen just only by yourself. No matter who you are, you need a community. It takes a village to raise a child. And then the nature of Islam, the teachings of Islam, the practices of Islam, if you look at that, they are in such a way that you need a community. You need fellow Muslims on your right and left, and who are always around, and you are part of them, and then you can really create that. First of all, you can all create that institutions who can educate you, who can help you to practice, who can motivate you, who can revive your spirit. Sometimes one person is going down, then sometimes the other person is going down. So when you are together, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, so people help each other, rescue each other, motivate each other, and they become a source of rescuing each other. And also you need role models. You need people to inspire you. You need people who can remind you your duties, your responsibilities, your legacy, your identity, and they can come and help you. And so all these are needs. So I will conclude here just by saying this. Today, this was the first day. I just wanted to again tell you that this is the ayat, and this ayat again, if you look, it is mentioned. This is ayat number 104, ayat number 103 and ayat number 105. Both of them are talking about the unity. This famous ayat, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, is the ayat before this ayat. Reminding Muslims that one of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was that He brought you all together. You were enemies, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you brothers for one another. And you have become a community. You were all just scattered here and there, and Allah brought you together, and now you are a community. And you need to وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Ayat number 105 also talks about the unity and talking about that we should avoid from disunity. In between, this is the ayat, وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ. Now, there are two ways to explain this. Our ulama have different translations. One is that you should be a community. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ, you should be a community, and then explains what kind of community. Community which is calling people toward khair. يَدْعُونَ النَّاسِ إِلَى khair. This is a community which is calling people toward khair. And ya'muruna bil ma'ruf wa yanhauna anil munkar. So, and some people would say that Allah is saying that in this larger community of Muslims, you should have a particular community, meaning a smaller community, a dedicated community, which is going to do this job. وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Now, whether, so the explanation is that why the Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi Anil Munkar, calling people toward good, it's a collective duty and it is a duty for every Muslim. Every Muslim, male and female, men, women, youth, young, elderly, they have to do this duty. Calling toward khair, calling toward good, doing Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi Anil Munkar. So this is a duty for everyone at one level, but then you should have a community dedicated for this job. A community which is dedicated for only this job. These can be ulama, these can be our speakers, our writers, our community leaders, some volunteers, that this is their job basically, to do this, to call people toward khair and do Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi Anil Munkar. Important terms here, and then we will leave the rest of main discussion for next khutbah. Things to ponder and the key words. Number one, ummah. This concept of ummah, concept of community, is one of the key concepts of Quran. We need to understand it, and we need to appreciate it, and we need to then try to be part of this ummah. And part of this ummah is we need to be those who build the ummah, and those who can serve the ummah, and then of course who can derive the benefits from ummah. You know, most of the ummah members, they are only the one that who use the benefits of ummah. But if you ask them to build the ummah, be part of building the ummah, be part of the building or serving the ummah, then you will have very few people available. They will say, we have no time, or we have no money, and we have no resources. So this is not my job, it is your job, it is their job. But when you will build, when you will have, we will come and we will take benefit of it. So most of the members of this ummah are users, free users, that who are very generous and very quick to criticize and fight and find faults with ummah and with the institutions and with the community and with the leadership and with the volunteers and with the services. They have so much to criticize and so much to suggest. But when you ask them to please come forward and donate your time and your resources and be part of building the ummah, they are so busy and they are so much occupied, and they know where to spend the money. At their own, they are not going to join in building the ummah. So that's one topic we will be talking, inshallah, how to build the ummah. And what is this ummah? The second thing is this concept of khair. The word khair came in Quran again many places. And deen is all about khair. Khair, khair, if you want to say khair, our children are now learning, mashallah, Arabic in the Arabic accent, so we have to now use the same accent here also. So it is khair. And this khair is good. So deen is all about good. Good for everyone. Good for entire society. Good for me, good for my neighbor, good for my community, for my society, and for entire world. So that khair is also something which we need to understand. What is this khair about? Then of course, ya'muruna bil ma'roof wa yanhauna anil munkar. Amr bil ma'roof and nahi anil munkar. And then Quran says, if you do all this, wa ulaika humul muflihun. These are the people that who will be successful. If you are looking for success, users are not going to be successful. Insensitive people are not going to be successful. The quiet and silent people sitting in margins and sitting next to walls and coming at the end and leaving first and not doing anything, Allah is not talking about them. Allah is talking about these people that who are active, proactive, they are the contributors, they are the servers, they are the members, the active members, they are volunteers, they are contributors. These are the people, ulaika humul muflihun. And that is something which we need to understand and grade ourselves where we stand. Are we silent and quiet majority? We are part of that silent and quiet majority which is insensitive to all what is happening around us and is reluctant to say, reluctant to talk, reluctant to come forward, only spectators. Spectators, Allah has never promised them anything. Allah has promised everything to the players. Match देखना और बात है, match खेलना और बात. So all the trophy will be given to players, not to those who are watching. So only those people will get the rewards who are playing. So that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking for. Be a player, be an active person and contribute and then take the benefit out of it. Then you will enjoy. So this is inshallah we will be talking about, and then of course we have to, the previous ayat and next ayat are talking about unity and disunity. So we will have a big deal of discussion about this. What are the reasons how we get disunited and how we can all unite ourselves, and what this unity is also our duty and responsibility. And we have to, all of us, we have to do whatever we can do to bring that unity among the ummah, unity among our community, unity in our family, unity in our neighborhood. We should be the uniting force, and we should be the people that who don't get disunited. So inshallah we will have this discussion in coming weeks. Recite a salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب اللهم صل على محمد وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء اللهم صل على محمد وعلى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آبائه الكرام ما اتصل الليالي والأيام. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى: إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اللهم صل وأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.